You know that country, America? I remember that time that people had empires. Believe it or not, America had, and well, still kinda has, an empire. Remember that Manifest Destiny video from a while back? I really only talk about American continental expansion, with some hints of overseas expansion, which I'm really ashamed about. I only touched on the war we will discuss today, which was the catalyst into America's overseas expansion. Today, we will discuss the Spanish-American War. Now, you may be wondering, why on God's green earth would America go to war with Spain? Aren't they like half a planet away? Yes, they are. You see, remember that one guy who got on a boat and kind of colonized an entire different continent? He was sent by Spain, so Spain got the biggest slice of the New World. One inspiration from 1776 and one Simon Bolivar later, Spain only has a little piece, only a handful of Caribbean islands including Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the modern-day Dominican Republic. A little bit farther south than Mexico, the U.S. is starting to take interest in the Caribbean. A while back in 1823, U.S. President James Monroe, who by the way was named after yours truly, issued the Monroe Doctrine, a policy that says that it will take every step necessary to prevent European expansion into the Western Hemisphere. Except for Canada, I guess. Basically, you guys suck and all this is ours. Now, if there's one thing we've learned from history, is that people aren't fans of being ruled by someone thousands of miles away, or even a few states away. Except for Canada, I guess. Cuba started revolting against Spain. They started the 10 Years' War that lasted from 1868 to 1878. After this war, many Americans began investing in the sugar market while it was in a slump, then getting rich when it went back up again. This piqued American interest in Cuba. This would be further heightened by the plan to build a canal between the Pacific and Atlantic. The U.S. knew that they would need a base to defend their project from, and Cuba's the perfect spot. There's just one problem. It's owned by someone else. But don't worry, we have guns. The United States began backing the rebels, and several troops along with the battleship USS Maine were sent to Cuba. On February 15, 1898, the USS Maine, which was anchored in Havana Harbor, exploded. Most likely it was an accident, but people blamed Spain for the explosion. McKinley, who was president at the time, believed that it was an accident, which it was. The American public thought differently, however. Hey guys, can we maybe not go to war with Spain? Maybe. We'll discuss it after we finish drawing up these war plans. Then wait, war plans? Who are we going to war with? Spain? What? Anyways, then we're going to discuss ways to nuke Spain into the sea, and then we'll consider your proposition. What? Nukes won't even be invented for another 47 years. Calm down, we're in an edutainment video. We can do whatever we want so long as it's a part of a joke. Fair point. The U.S. declared war on Spain and began rallying their forces. The Navy was being geared up, and the commander of the Navy, some guy named Theodore Roosevelt, created a cavalry unit known as the Rough Riders. I bet he won't go on to be the best U.S. president. That's a story for another time, though. Cuban rebels supported the Americans. Their mission was to capture the city of Santiago de Cuba, the base of the Spanish Caribbean fleet. To do this, however, American forces had to cross through the San Juan Hills, a heavily defended area of Cuba. The army, led by the 1st Marine Battalion, landed in Guantanamo Bay, near the city. Then, a week later, the 5th Army Division landed at Daiquiri. A company led by General Joseph Wheeler were ambushed by Spanish forces near Siboney in the Battle of Las Guasimas, which really was little more than a skirmish, for the Americans lost 17 men and had 52 wounded, while the Spanish had 7 dead and 14 wounded. 4 cavalrymen were sent to chase down the retreating Spanish forces. Only one survived. You can see that this war is not going well for the Americans, and at this point you may be wondering, how do they turn it all around? Well, I'll get to that later, don't worry. In the meantime, however, let's look at things elsewhere. Over in Asia, Spain also owns several small islands in the Pacific as well as the Philippines. Similar to Cuba, the Philippines also had an independence movement. They tried launching a revolution in 1897, but it was resolved after the Treaty of... I'm not even going to try pronouncing that. The U.S. began to back the Filipino rebels after the war started. Before that, however, Theodore Roosevelt sent Commander George Dewey and his fleet to anchor in Hong Kong. Their mission was to prevent Spanish forces from ever leaving the island. On May 1st, Dewey's fleet engaged a Spanish fleet in the Battle of Manila Harbor, winning the battle and capturing Manila. Then the Germans showed up and started messing with the Americans by cutting off their ships and landing supplies for the Spanish right in front of the Americans. The Filipino independence movement began an uprising around the same time, capturing many areas of the Philippine archipelago. On June 12, 1898, the Philippines officially declared independence from Spain, and the Americans fought one final battle called the Battle of Manila against the Spanish on August 13th. Oh yeah, Guam exists, I guess, too. Back to Cuba. On July 1st, several divisions, including the Rough Riders, led by that guy nobody's ever heard of named Theodore Roosevelt, as well as some Army and Marine divisions, began marching towards Santiago de Cuba. The Americans won the Battle of the San Juan Hills after Roosevelt led a fierce cavalry charge at the Spanish defenses, causing the Spanish to fall back to El Caney, a small town, later the site of another battle, the Battle of El Caney. Another American victory. The Americans were pushed back by the Spanish as they were about to enter Santiago de Cuba, so the Americans and Cubans decided to besiege the city instead. The siege was long and bloody. Heat exhaustion and malaria ravaged both sides, and the battle was a stalemate. Eventually, the Americans came out on top and quickly took over the rest of Cuba. The peace treaty at the 32nd Treaty of Paris ever held in history gave the Spanish possessions of Cuba, Puerto Rico, the Mariana and Caroline Islands, as well as Guam, and the Philippines to the U.S. The U.S. occupied Cuba until 1902, until a pro-U.S. government was established, which would never turn communist and point nukes at the U.S. America also held on to the Philippines until 1946. Thanks for watching this video, and happy 4th of July to my American viewers, which is probably all of you. Thank you for watching, and this has been Playhouse Films.